Hello, and welcome to episode 1 of Squared Circle Gaming, taking a nostalgic look back at the good, the bad, and the ugly of pro wrestling video games from days gone by. My name's Dan Barker, and I will be your host and guide through wrestling's virtual history. For this debut episode, we're going to take a look at WWF In Your House from 1996. But before we dive into the action, let's take a look at the status of WWF around the time of the game's release. Psycho Sid held the WWF Championship, having won the belt from Shawn Michaels at the 1996 Survivor Series event at Madison Square Garden. On the same card, Bret Hart ended his post-WrestleMania exile, pinning King of the Ring winner Stone Cold Steve Austin in one of the all-time classic WWF encounters, while further down the card, in a multi-man tag match, a young man by the name of Rocky Maivia made his in-ring WWF debut. The closest pay-per-view event to the game's European release was In Your House 12, It's Time, staged on December the 15th in West Palm Beach, Florida. The event featured Psycho Sid's first successful defense of his title, defeating Bret Hart, whilst in the main event Shawn Michaels defeated Mankind. The undercard of the event is infamous for featuring the pay-per-view debut of Fake Diesel and Fake Razor Ramon, with Glenn, soon-to-be Kane, Jacobs, and Rick Bognar filling the roles vacated by Kevin Nash and Scott Hall after their move to WCW earlier in the year. Just in case you're interested, Fake Diesel and Fake Razor lost their tag title match to the British Bulldog and Owen Hart. In terms of the game, WWF In Your House was released on PlayStation, Sega Saturn, and PC on October 31st, 1996 in North America, with the title coming to Europe in December of the same year. The title was developed by Sculptured Software and published by Acclaim, and was a follow-up to the home console release of WrestleMania the arcade game, which had been released the previous year. The game features 10 of the most prominent WWF superstars of the time: Shawn Michaels, Vader, Owen Hart, Bret Hart, Ahmed Johnson, the British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith, Goldust, The Undertaker, The Ultimate Warrior, and Hunter Hearst Helmsley. The three main single-player game modes are WWF Season, Intercontinental Title, and WWF Championship. And for the playthrough portion of this video, we're going to use arguably my favourite WWF superstar of all time, Bret the Hitman Hart. As our first bout against Goldust gets underway, the first thing you'll notice is that the style of the game is not your average pro wrestling affair, as the general gameplay is more akin to a classic beat-em-up game such as Street Fighter or Acclaim's popular Mortal Kombat series. This means that less emphasis is placed on executing actual wrestling moves, as inflicting damage and shortening your opponent's health meter is the main objective. The easiest way of beating your opponent is to complete combination attacks upon them, as well as special attacks, which can be executed by hitting the triangle button, and bouts are contested in rounds as opposed to the usual one fall to a finish match format of pro wrestling. The first player to win 2 out of the 3 rounds is declared the winner, so it's a little bit like a 2 out of 3 falls match. Victory is achieved by pinning your opponent, and the player is prompted to do so by the pin him command appearing on screen when your opponent's health meter deteriorates to the point that it is empty. Again, this is another trope borrowed from the beat-em-up genre. Instead of the bouts taking place in traditional arenas, the fights in the game take place in different venues, with each character having their own. The Hart brothers host bouts in the famed Hart family dungeon. The British Bulldog fights in a stereotypical British scene, complete with beefeaters, police officers in classic Dixon of Dock Green style uniforms, and ring posts similar to post boxes. Others include Hunter Hearst Helmsley's aristocratic stately home, somewhere that looks similar to Disney's Big Thunder Mountain ride for Vader, the WWF locker room, and Shawn Michaels nightclub, although presumably this isn't in Syracuse, New York. The premise of each game mode is your classic arcade-style campaign mode, with the goal being simply to fight your way through each character on the game in order to claim the championship. The fast-paced nature of the game combined with how simple it is to pick up and play make sure that this isn't a chore, and the surprise of not knowing which opponent is coming next keeps the game playing experience fresh. Whilst the game modes keep the playing experience fun and positive, unfortunately the lack of variety in the combination attacks render the actual gameplay repetitive, and proves to be one of the game's downsides. The limited nature of the game in terms of roster and game modes also make the experience samey, and this impacts upon the game's longevity. And in comparison to 1994's WWF Raw for Mega Drive and SNES, which boasted a larger roster and more game modes, given the choice, I know which one I would rather play. To sum up, if you're interested in replicating the thrills and spills you were likely to see on TV at the time, then this game is definitely not for you. This is probably as far removed from a wrestling simulation title as you can get. If instead you're interested in playing an easy to pick up and simple classic arcade beat 'em up, but with WWF superstars as opposed to the likes of Chun-Li or Johnny Cage, then this title is probably what you're looking for. My advice to anyone who has never played this game before but curious to give it a try is simple. Don't take it too seriously. Overall, I'm giving it a 3 out of 5. That's just about it for this first episode of Squared Circle Gaming. I hope you have enjoyed our trip through wrestling gaming history. Please remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel to be among the first to view future episodes, and feel free to share this video amongst your friends on social media. Also feel free to get in touch with me on Twitter, where I can be found at Dan_Barker16. I'll be back soon with episode 2, in which we have been tempted down south by Ted Turner's blank checkbook to review 1999's WCW Mayhem. Until then, take care.